Head coach Darren DeVries in Indiana basketball just offered a scholarship to the biggest high school basketball player I think I've ever seen. Get this guy to Bloomington.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, and it is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. Well, tons to get to on today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers. It's July 1st if you're watching or listening to this on the day that it comes out. And we'll kind of tell you what that means, where we are, and what's coming up in the next several weeks, several months for Indiana athletics. Plus, speaking of it being July, Big Ten Media Days is right around the corner for football. We now know who will be representing the Hoosiers alongside Kurt Signetti in Las Vegas. But we've got to start today's show with news that's been reported everywhere. On 3, 247, you name it, they got it. It's this idea, not even an idea anymore. It's a fact that Indiana has offered a scholarship in basketball to maybe the biggest kid I've ever seen in my entire life. He is set, folks, the numbers on this don't even seem physically possible. This seems like it should not be real. Playing high school basketball. And the Hoosiers have hopped in on a very popular prospect playing in the class of 2026. He is 7 feet tall, okay? 7 feet tall, over 300 pounds. His weight kind of fluctuates depending on where you look, but 7 feet over 300 is the best way to describe this young man. And his name is Marcis Ponder. I've heard it pronounced as Marcus as well, like a hard C, but I believe it's a soft C in Marcis Ponder. He plays down in Florida. He's from Orlando, plays at the West Oaks Academy. He is 7 feet tall, 300 plus pounds. This dude is a unit. He is an absolute skyscraper, man. I mean, he's obviously got the height. He's got the build. He's a big boy now. And you might hear 7-footer and think, oh, okay, we could use one of those in Bloomington, right? But then you hear 300 plus pounds. It's like, oh man, that's a big old kid. That's a grown man, right? I mean, you're talking some serious size right there. Can he move with that size? He absolutely can. Turn on the film on this guy, Marcis, and then Ponder is Ponder. Go watch the film on this guy. He is legit. He moves extremely well. He's just a big old bully down in the lane, and clearly, and for obvious reasons, uses his size to his advantage. And look, is he someone that's going to be running the floor like a 3-man or a 4, like a small forward? No. Or a power forward? No. But he does move pretty well for his size. And I think something that you need to know, and something that I'd like to highlight here, is his footwork inside the lane, whether it's positioning himself to grab a rebound. I know he's 7 feet tall, but if you're on the wrong side of the rim when the shot goes up, depending on who's shooting it, where they're shooting it from, and what hand it comes out of, you have to be in the right position to be able to grab a rebound, offensive or defensive, right? So I think he does a really good job there. I also think he does a really good job when they pass him the basketball, whether he's posted up on the low block, if he's cutting down the lane in transition or whatever the case may be. I think his hands are really good. His footwork is good. He's got some spin move. He's got some drop step. He's got a lot of that in his game. This isn't just let me throw my rear end into you, back my way down, knock you out of bounds, and then slam it in your face. He can do that, but that's not all that he has in his arsenal, okay? And look, he's broken some rims and backboards in his day. You remember the old videos of Shaq and those guys breaking the old school backboards before the breakaway rims were a thing? That's because of guys like this. And Shaq has been the immediate comparison for Marcis Ponder. Yes, because of his size, but also because of the way he plays, because of the way he attacks the rim, and the way that he can finish when he's within, 6 inches of the basket, right? And so that's an easy comparison to say this is the next Shaq of college basketball. He's already looking and playing like it in the high school ranks. There's some highlights going around of him playing with his travel team, playing against Cooper Flagg and his team back in the day. And they were just going at it, and both of them chirping. I mean, that's one thing about Ponder. He will let you know when he dunks it on your head. We talked about a guy like that yesterday. This kid's the same way, man. And he could be he's going to be a lot of fun no matter where he plays college basketball. But the Hoosiers have jumped in on him, and his offer list is absurd, as you would imagine. I mean, you're talking about the likes of a bunch of SEC teams like Auburn and Alabama. You've got Florida State, Arizona State, Georgetown are in there as well. So you're talking ACC, you're talking Big East. I mean, some of the biggest programs in the country have jumped on this kid. And depending on what rankings you look at, depends on kind of where he stands. 247 has him ranked as 86th overall nationally in the country. So top 90 in high school basketball. 86th is where they have him, the 9th ranked center in the 2026 class. On3 has him ranked as 67th overall in the 7th best center in the class of 2026. And so regardless, he's one of the best centers in the country, and he's a top 100, top 80 type play. I think top 75 is fair. I think to say he's a top 75 player is absolutely fair, and a top 10 center in all of high school basketball. This is what we've been wanting, right? This is what we have been asking for, and especially Indiana fans who wanted it for this year's team. I know that's not how this one will work out, but you've been asking for big men to play at Indiana. We want big guys who can move, who can score, who can do other things other than just run from one block to the other, back to the other block on the baseline, right? That is this type of guy. That is a Marcis Ponder type of player. And look, the Hoosiers just jumped in on him. Now your goal is, okay, because you went and saw him right at the DMV events over this past weekend. Listen to some of these stats. These have been reported by both 247 and On3. He averaged at the DMV live sessions this past weekend. He averaged 15 points a game, 11 rebounds per game, and 1.5 blocks per game, shooting 80% from the floor. Let me say that again. 15 points a game, 11 rebounds, 1.5 blocks, 80% from the floor. This also says he has 6 double-doubles across 2 weekends, according to On3. That's pretty impressive for a big guy who can score, rebound. His defensive presence is clear and obvious, and he runs the floor, and he's effective when he's around the rim. This is a guy that you want from the high school rankings. And Indiana's going to have to grind here, but you've done step one. You've gone to see him, and you offered him a scholarship. Now you're going to keep talking to him, and you're going to try and get him on campus. And at that point, then you make your offer, you make your pitch, and you see where it stacks up with everybody else, and you try to get a commitment and make him your second addition to the class of 2026. A lot of Shaquille O'Neal comparisons here. Believe it or not, a little bit different in size here. But I think the style that Ponder could have is a Julius Randle style. Probably not shooting from the outside, which you remember Randle didn't really have that at Kentucky in his time. But I'm talking a guy that can run the floor, who can cut through the lane, who's just an electric finisher at the rim, but somebody who could have a little bit of finesse. I think a little bit more finesse with Julius Randle, a little bit more power with Marcis Ponder. But I feel like if you slim up a hair, still use your power and size, but add a little bit more arsenal to your game, I think it could be a little bit of a comparison there. And then, of course, just the big-bodied meanie of a Shaquille O'Neal. So, dude, this kid's awesome. And Indiana is now in the sweepstakes. Now you got to make more progress. Now you got to keep talking. Now you got to get him on campus. And it is a 7-foot, 300-pound center in the class of 2026. And his name is Marcis Ponder. All right, coming up here on Locked On Hoosiers, since it is July, Big Ten Media Days in Las Vegas are right around the corner for football, and we now know who will represent the Hoosiers alongside Curt Cignetti. We'll talk about that and why it's important coming up next here on the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball, under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action, right? So why not just make it a little bit more thrilling, a little bit more interesting, have a little bit more stake in the games. With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. You can do this anywhere, right? If you are in a spot that you're able. And same game parlays are always what I like to do. Pick 3 or 4 things that you think are going to happen, put them all together, and try to win big. Right? FanDuel makes it feel like I'm a part of the action, and they'll do the same for you. I'm telling you. Okay. So if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5, and you're going to get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com right now to get started. Welcome back into Locked On Hoosiers. Thank you so much for being here. Really do appreciate you making this your go-to spot for all things Indiana athletics. A reminder, with it being July 1st on the day that this episode drops, we'll talk about what that means, kind of a deep dive into the calendar and just kind of some generic things that I wanted to go over. But we did get an announcement from Indiana football about who will be representing the Hoosiers in Las Vegas for Big Ten football media days. It's all coming up on July 22nd. It's over a couple of days. I believe it's a 3-day thing. Let's see, the 22nd, 23rd, and the 24th. Yeah, so a 3-day event. SEC believe they do 4. And these have all changed so many times. Sometimes it used to be just one big day, everybody sit out and free for all go. Sometimes it's a 4 or 5-day event. I mean, it's pretty wild. But the Big Ten's going to have a 3-day event out in Las Vegas where all 18 teams will be represented in the Big Ten. You will have everybody there, all the head coaches, and then 3 players alongside them. And if you don't really know how media days works for any conference, it's pretty simple. Each day, you're going to have a select group of teams whose head coaches will show up for the football program, along with 3 players that they feel best represent their team, whether it's team captains or who are good with media, right, and things like that. They show up, they'll sit on the main podium, they'll answer a bunch of questions about last season and the off season and this upcoming season. The players will do the same. They'll go and make their TV hits, right, with the Big Ten Network and with ESPN and things like that. And then they normally have some breakout sessions where they'll go out and they will talk to any other media that's there, local media, national media, Big Ten media, whoever the case may be, and they just talk about the season. If they're from last year's team, they'll recap what happened a year ago. I would expect there to be a lot of questions about Indiana making it to the college football playoff. You expect that to be a hot topic when Curt Cignetti and his guys take the podium at Big Ten Media Days, which, by the way, will be on Tuesday, July 22nd, okay? You will have 3 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Indiana will be on Tuesday alongside Illinois, Maryland, Nebraska, Ohio State, Rutgers, okay? So other than Ohio State being there, who's bringing Caleb Downs, Jeremiah Smith, and Sonny Styles, you feel like Indiana and Illinois will be the 2 stories of Big Ten Media Days, especially on day 1. And so I'm very excited to hear what they have to say. And I say they because, yes, Curt Cignetti will be there, but we now know who will be alongside him. Indiana and Curt Cignetti will be bringing 3 of your best representatives from a year ago who came back to play another season. You're bringing linebacker Aiden Fisher. You're bringing defensive lineman Michael Kamara, and you're going to bring your wide receiver Elijah Surratt. You're talking about 2 All-Americans on the defensive side of the football and a 3rd-team All-Big Ten guy in Elijah Surratt, who very well could earn himself an All-American status this season. And look, I think it is very easy to bring Aiden Fisher and Michael Kamara, 2 guys who are just studs on the defensive side of the football, 2 of the best defensive players in all of college football. Very easy to bring those 2 guys. And then, of course, you want an offensive representative as well. And Elijah Surratt just makes sense, right? With all the turnover on the offensive line, new tight ends, obviously new running backs, a new quarterback in Fernando Mendoza. Some people may say, well, why isn't he going? Why not bring Fernando Mendoza to Las Vegas, to Big Ten Media Days? I mean, he's supposed to be your starting quarterback, right? Yes, but you typically want to take players who were on the team last year, who have been around for a little bit, can kind of answer what a year ago was, and then kind of represent how you have, what the changes have been, what the difference is, what the progress looks like, all that in comparison, right? You want the inside scoop, the comparison from a year ago to what you expect this upcoming season. And so I think it's a no-brainer for Aiden Fisher, Michael Kamara, and Elijah Surratt. Those are three of your biggest impact players from last year, and you expect them to be your biggest impact players for this year as well. And I think they're all going to represent Indiana extremely well. And so, like I said, if you're looking to kind of what to expect with all of this, right? What could be asked of these guys and what they're going to say. I think Curt Cignetti has proven during his time he's not afraid to talk, right? He's not afraid to say what's on his mind, and he'll answer what you ask him, but he's also pretty blunt and pretty straight to the point. And so I put him in the in the Nick Saban category of I'll answer your question. You're probably not going to like how I answer it, but I'll answer it, maybe, kind of, sort of, right? And so for those who may be trying to clickbait or try to fish or try to get right Curt Cignetti, it's just not going to happen. And people do that. They do. Okay, that's how this thing works. People gotta make a living around here sometimes. And so not me, but there are others who try to do it with oh, I got Cignetti to say this, or I got Ryan Day to say this. Oh, I couldn't believe he answered that. But like, it's so stupid, right? But for Indiana in particular, again, you're going to hear a lot about the college football playoff. You are going to hear a lot about the transfer portal class and the fact that it was a good class, but you bring so many players back from a year ago. You're hoping for a revamped offensive line. Can you get back to the playoff? You have a little bit of a tougher schedule this year, right? And outside of your non-conference games, all of those will be topics that I hope are brought up to Indiana players and to the head coach and Curt Cignetti. And I'm fascinated to hear and to see how they answer it, because I expect them to be confident at Big Ten Media Days, and they should be confident. The coverage should be legit of this team compared to what it's been for the entire history of Big Ten Media Days, where Indiana's there. Doesn't really matter. It's Indiana. Let's go grab lunch while they're talking, right? Not anymore. I expect the room to be packed. I expect Indiana Day to be busy. I expect there to be a ton of coverage all over the place, including the Big Ten Network. And I'm excited to bring you some of that coverage and just kind of break down what Cignetti and the guys have to say, and hopefully build a little bit more hype around this team. Not that we need it, not that there isn't hype. I'm just saying this is a chance, if you are Cignetti and the players, and heck, for any of these other coaches and players, right, to come in and tell people, tell the media, tell the fans directly why you should believe in this team, why you should believe in their program, why you should believe in what this season could become. And I think Indiana needs a little bit more of that. I feel like some of the fan base isn't quite where I am, or where some of you are, in terms of the excitement for this season or the expectations for this season. And I really do think that Fisher, Kamara, and Surratt are just absolutely perfect selections from this team, who have been with Cignetti for a while. Remember, these are James Madison's dudes who came from James Madison to Indiana and have made immediate impacts and are now being nationally recognized on the college football award side of things. And they're going to get to represent Indiana at Big Ten Media Days. Excited for it. Again, that's on Tuesday, July 22nd. It will also be going on Wednesday, July 23rd. All right, Minnesota, Northwestern, Oregon, Penn State on the same day. Wow. Washington and Wisconsin are going to go on Wednesday on the 23rd. That's a really big day out there. And then on Thursday, July 24th is Iowa, Michigan, Michigan State, Purdue, UCLA, and USC. So that is going to be taking place. Again, that's in mid to late July. That's all going to be covered on the Big Ten Network. That is out in Las Vegas, actually at Allegiant Stadium. So everything will be taking place in there. And excited to see Aiden Fisher, Michael Kamara, and Elijah Surratt stand next to the head man, the head coach at Big Ten Media Days, Curt Cignetti. All right, coming up here in our final segment on Locked On Hoosiers, it's July 1st, which means what? Having a little fun in our final segment. So stick around. We'll have that coming up for you right after this. All right, final segment on Locked On Hoosiers. Thank you so much again for being here and supporting the show all June long. And as we get into the month of July, again, thank you so much for your support there. And it was a really, really good, fun month of June coverage with recruiting and some things like that from football and for basketball. And so excited to get into what July is going to be around here, because the news side of things, yes, will be a little bit slower, but this is where we get to have some fun conversations. We had our crossover episode with Trent Condon of Locked On Hawkeyes. More of that sort of stuff coming up later this week into next week as well, in terms of all of the crossovers. And this segment right here is going to be kind of more just about what to expect for Locked On Hoosiers, expect for the month of July type of thing. And so just having, some one-on-one conversation with you here. A lot of those crossovers. We plan on doing one for every game on the schedule that we can of Indiana's football schedule. We don't have a Purdue show here at Locked On, and so we'll struggle with that one, but we'll see what we can do on that. But all the other ones, we're going to try and get you a full preview of the schedule with each opponent with the Locked On host that represents it. So I've already recorded with Zach Sako of Locked On Nittany Lions. We've got stuff lined up with Sonny over at Locked On Illini. We've got a bunch set up. Okay, Michigan State, right? We're going to have that one on there. We will, unfortunately, have to record with Spencer McLaughlin of Locked On Ducks. I know. I'm sorry. It is what it is. It's, gotta talk to him, unfortunately. Love Spencer. He does a great job. And check out Locked On College Football too, because he does a wonderful job. So we're going to have a lot of that for you. But with it being July 1st, right, you start looking at the calendar. Folks, we play college football next month. Next month, we play college football where Indiana kicks off the season on August 30. Folks, we're 60 days away from that. 60 days away from August 30th, when Indiana and the rest of college football will kick off the 2025 season. Heck, we are like 50 days away from actually college football kicking off because of week 0 and then the expanded week 1 and things like that. We're even closer than that to college football, but we are 60 days away from Indiana football starting the 2025 campaign and trying to make it back to the college football playoff. And I'm just so excited, man. I think the roster is so good, and I think it has a chance to be better than it was last year. And people outside of this team and this fan base and this town and this brotherhood, they don't understand that. They don't get it. They don't pay attention. They don't know. They simply do not know. People refuse to look into and buy into what Indiana is doing. And look, we've lost the shine of sneaking up on folks and catching people off guard. Like, that all happened a year ago. It's not going to happen this year. We're going to get the best of the best from every single team on our schedule that we play. But people don't understand what the roster looks like here. And we've talked a lot about it. We will continue to do so throughout the month of July and into August. But this team is going to be really, really good and have every chance in the world to make it back to the college football playoff. I firmly believe that. And even if we don't make it, we will have a say on who does. And that is all you can ask for in year 2 under Curt Cignetti. So we are 60 days away from the start of Indiana football. And then since we don't know the exact schedule just yet in terms of when Indiana basketball's first official game will be as of this recording, I just did a search on November 1st. How many days away are we from November 1st? Well, we're 123 days, because that's when basketball is going to start in the regular season, is in the month of November. Folks, you have July, August, September. You have 3 months, 4 months, October. Forgot about that one. July, August, September, October. 4 months until college basketball games will be back on the hardwood. Of course, practice will start before that. And with Indiana, we've got the trip to Puerto Rico coming up in mid-August. And so, man, we are just so close to everything truly getting back up and running on the sports side of things. And I can't wait to be along for the ride for you right here on Locked On Hoosiers. All right. So if you haven't already, as we get out of here today, if you're listening on audio, I asked you to follow us if you can on your podcasting platforms. Turn on your notifications. We had an episode on Saturday that's talking about Prince Alexander Moody. And if you didn't have your notifications on, you probably missed it. So go back and catch up on that and turn your notifications notifications on. And I ask you to send this to somebody that doesn't already listen to Locked On Hoosiers. And I mean that. Send it to an Indiana fan that needs something to listen to every day. I want this to be the thing that they tune into, whatever podcasting platform they're on. Send it to them, have them check this out, okay? And then if you are watching on the YouTube side with the video version, you know the drill. Hit that thumbs up and like the video. Tells me, tells YouTube, tells my bosses, tells everybody, tells my mom, that she liked what's going on over here. She likes to see that. And then make sure that you are leaving your comments down, your thoughts down in the YouTube comments below. I want to see the engagement. I want to see what you guys have to say about what we've talked about today or any other day that we have had conversations on Locked On Hoosiers. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, okay? We're making a push to 6K, 6,000 subscribers, and I want you to be a part of that. And so with that, we have some stuff coming up for you the rest of the week. 4th of July, we will probably have that day off, probably no episode on Friday the 4th. Go out and enjoy that day with you and your family and friends. Have fun, be safe as well. And then we'll get into next week. There's some big time stuff coming up, especially with media days and things like that. And so we are cruising right along as we get the month of July started. And I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart, the support that you give this show each and every day, for the fun and the effort that we are having and the time we put into this, man. We are absolutely loving it. So thank you so much for everything you do, and appreciate your support of Locked On Hoosiers. Okay. We are back tomorrow, Hoosier fans. So until then, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.